But before we embark, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to stay updated with our historical explorations.
Despite the abundance of evidence presented, there remains a segment of individuals who steadfastly refuse to acknowledge, perceive, or comprehend the veracity that indigenous American Indians historically and presently exhibit dark skin and are melanated people who some say favor the African people, though we have no connection to them. We will discuss briefly while staying within the topic, also bearing in mind the definition of ancient and that the Yamasee are an ancient people and tribe with an ancient heritage and history. This assertion can be readily substantiated by referring back to the text Sketch of the Seminole War and Sketches During a Campaign by a lieutenant of the left wing on page 26. Simmons, in his Notes of Florida, says, "The SvnoyiWahya tribe of Seminoles are thought to be descendants of the Yamasee, as they are blacker than the other tribes, and the Yamasee are said to have been remarkably dark-complexioned. King Payne, the grandfather of Micanopy, the present governor, married his Yamasee slave, and his son, Chief Payne, uncle to Micanopy, bore strong marks of his dark descent." Now let's take a moment to explain. Please keep in mind that this account is based on direct observation. The individuals providing these descriptions encountered and interacted with the people mentioned. To proceed, the Yamasee tribe is thought to be the ancestors of the SvnoyiWahya tribe of Seminoles, known for their darker complexion. The author cites examples of two men, such as King Payne and Chief Payne, who themselves have had Yamasee ancestry, emphasizing their darker complexion as evidence. His statement regarding Chief Payne, indicating that he bore strong marks of his dark descent, again bore strong marks. Marks, plural, meaning more than one, which pertains not only to his complexion, but also encompasses his facial features. The arrival of European explorers and colonizers in the 16th century marked a pivotal moment in the history of the Yamasee people, reshaping their social, political, and economic landscape in profound ways. As Spanish, French, and English expeditions ventured into the southeastern region of North America, the Yamasee found themselves thrust into a tumultuous era of contact and conflict. Initially, these encounters brought about disruptions to the traditional lifeways and patterns of governance that had sustained Yamasee communities for generations. European explorers, driven by a quest for wealth and power, sought to establish trade networks, exploit natural resources, and expand colonial territories. The Yamasee were forced to navigate shifting alliances and power dynamics as European powers vied for control over the lucrative resources of the southeastern region. Some Yamasee communities forged alliances with European colonizers in hopes of gaining protection or securing advantageous trade relationships. Others chose to resist foreign encroachment, clinging to their ancestral lands and asserting their sovereignty in the face of external pressures. As European colonization intensified, the Yamasee were confronted with mounting threats to their autonomy, territorial integrity, and cultural survival. European settlers encroached upon Yamasee lands, displacing indigenous communities, exploiting natural resources, and imposing foreign systems of governance. Treaties and agreements negotiated between colonial authorities and indigenous leaders often proved to be one-sided and exploitative, resulting in the loss of land, resources, and political autonomy for the Yamasee people. Throughout this tumultuous period, the Yamasee demonstrated remarkable resilience and adaptability in the face of adversity. They navigated the complexities of colonialism with pragmatism and strategic foresight, seeking to safeguard their interests while preserving their cultural heritage and way of life. Despite the challenges posed by European colonization, the Yamasee continued to assert their sovereignty, defend their ancestral lands, and resist assimilation into the colonial order. The encounters with European colonizers ushered in a new chapter in the history of the Yamasee people, marked by disruptions, conflicts, and transformations. As European powers vied for control over the southeastern region, the Yamasee were forced to navigate a complex terrain of shifting alliances and power dynamics, confronting existential threats to their autonomy and cultural survival. Yet, amidst the upheaval, the Yamasee persevered, drawing upon their resilience, adaptability, and sense of collective identity to confront the challenges of colonialism and assert their rights as indigenous peoples. Now returning to the book Sketch of the Seminole War and Sketches During a Campaign by a lieutenant of the left wing on page 155. We passed on the side of the road a large tumulus or Indian mound of an oblong, roof-like shape. It seemed to be very ancient, as pines of considerable size were growing on the top of it. I wished to examine it more minutely, but there was no opportunity of stopping. I concluded that it was most probably a burial ground of the Yamasee who, after many hard battles, were finally exterminated 100 years ago by the Seminoles. Now, let's take a moment to explain. The author states that the mound likely serves as a burial ground for the Yamasee people, whom he thought were exterminated by the Seminoles approximately a century ago following numerous conflicts. However, it should be noted that this assertion is inaccurate, as the Yamasee people persist to the present day. The mention of the Yamassee's connection to the mound adds a historical and cultural layer to the narrative. It also reflects on the historical and cultural significance of these mounds, showing the Yamassees had ancient civilizations and their ancient burial practices. To continue, we will take a look into the U.S. Government Report of Industrial Commission on Agriculture and Agricultural Labor, Volume 10, Washington Government Printing Office, 1901. When mentioning the Yamasee of Beaufort, South Carolina in 1901, it states, "A most peculiar thing is this: Quarterages, in his book on the human race, asserts the fact that the African lived on these islands long before the discovery of America by Christopher Columbus. He is high authority, and he says that the Yamasee Indians were Negroes, what were known afterwards as the fiercest of the Indian tribes of the South. The well-known Yamasee Indians were Africans. Is it a fact that they were much darker than the other Indians? Yes, it is a fact, and the hair was different too. So it is stated by one of the most distinguished ethnologists in the world." Another corroborative proof is that the Spaniards found that one Negro was equal to 10 Indians for work, and therefore imported these Indian Negroes and carried them to the West Indies to experiment with. Now, let's take a moment to explain. This document bears significance as an official government record, though it incorrectly identifies the Yamasee as Africans based solely on the darkness of their skin, whether deliberate or accidental. It's worth noting that Christopher Columbus referred to them as Negro Indians, signifying the darkness of their complexion. Furthermore, this record confirms the Yamasee's existence as late as 1901. Moreover, it disproves the previous author's suggestion of their extermination. Meanwhile, the previous author substantiates the ancient presence of the Yamasee people, proving their ancient existence in the Americas. It's noteworthy to mention that Christopher Columbus did not reach North America. Instead, he arrived in South America. He was the first European to arrive in the Bahamas, then the island later named Hispaniola, now split into Haiti and the Dominican Republic. On his subsequent voyages, he went farther south to Central and South America. The fact that he encountered the Yamasee also supports the evidence that the Yamasee inhabited South America as well as North America.
Niku Yamassee yate. Yate unke hechite. But I'm pretty sure you all prefer English. Good, I can speak English. Have you heard of my people before? Yes. I am Chief C. Ku Hajo of the Yamassee Indian tribe and people, the fiercest of Indian warriors and tribal people. My people are the Yamassee, and we helped the Spanish and the British. We went to war for them. We hunted for them. We taught them how to farm, how to survive. And in return, they gave us diseases and slavery. Enslaving our women, children, and elders. All because of the color of our skin. See, the Yamasee people were dark-skinned people. We looked like the Negroes from Africa they was bringing over. It was cheaper for those who could not afford to rent ships or had ships in their possession to put a Yamasee into slavery than it was for them to send for Africans or buy Africans that came from the slave ship. But not only did they put us in slavery, they took our women and children and put them into slavery. Torturing our children and women, beating them with sticks with thorns, whips, taking our newborn babies, putting ropes around their necks, sitting them next to creeks, rivers, and banks to use as alligator bait. They were savages. They were cruel. But they called us savages. We was forced to fight, forced to go to war, find freedom. The people we once called allies, friends, now became our enemies. The Spanish, they weren't much better, but they gave us land in La Florida for us to have freedom. So, we raided the slave plantations at night, following the stars, taking groups much this size and sometimes smaller, women, children, and elders, babies, to find freedom. Trekking through the forests, swamps, And inside these swamps, there was Nkusi, bears, Kui, panthers, Chito, snakes, Kui, dangerous things, animals, only hunting to survive. And we were their targets. But much worse than the animals, because we understood the land, was those they sent after what they now called their property. Those that we once taught how to hunt our land, how to track, are now tracking us, using what we taught them about this land. No longer called hunters or our friends or trackers, they're now called slave catchers. Slave catchers sent to return the property of those who kidnapped my people. To grab my people and put them back into slavery. To torture our children, our women, our babies. It was not an option for my people. Mothers, fathers, we live for and will die for our children, will we not?
If you would like to express your encouragement towards these works and content, please go to paypal.me/SvnoyiWahya YT, or you can even directly contribute through Cashapp at $SvnoyiWahya. Any amount you give will be immensely appreciated. Thank you for your generosity.
Join the SvnoyiWahya membership and support the channel. And be a part of the community by becoming a member and gaining exclusive perks while supporting the channel's growth. Your support helps to create more content exploring indigenous history, culture, and stories. Click the join button and choose your level to make an impact.